for. It's got my mind racing, thinking thoughts I shouldn't be thinking. So many things went wrong, so many friends have gone. I've been hurting for so long, for so long, but I won't give up, I won't quit. I'm not built that way. It'd be so
Yeah, pleasure to meet you, Kevin.
Good to meet you, Johnny.
Time I saw your TikTok, I don't know if the word is enamored, but the detail and time that it takes to paint each one of those, because that's not one piece of wood for each ribbon, that's multiple pieces for each ribbon. And I thought, man, that's a lot of time and dedication, man. And the shop is amazing, and your talent is phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. And I just wanted to get in touch with you and try to share your story a little bit about why you do it, and how happy it seems to make you. Because I don't know if you're aware, if you heard my story or not, but 1 year after I retired from the Air Force, I struggled with purpose, and I had a very hard time being a father and a husband, home at 5 o'clock, no trips, no deployments, no airplanes. I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And to see individuals, especially veterans who find that purpose after service, is really like a goal of Johnny Mo Media and Straight Talk Podcast, just to let the other veterans know, listen, man, just because you served and you're not serving now doesn't mean you don't have purpose anymore. And I think so many of us with the suicidal ideations and the combat and the PTSD, we struggle with that purpose anymore. And to find someone like you who just absolutely loves and enjoys it, it just warms me up, and I just want to share it. So
I appreciate it, Johnny.
Very happy for you to be doing this, man. Very, very, very much.
Awesome. Yeah, I do. I struggled with it too after I got out. I served 92 to 96. So I was a young man when I got out. I was Navy. I was an avionics technician. I got to third class petty officer, E4 in the Navy, and working on H-60s. The squadron I was in was HS-8 at the time. I know it's been recommissioned as HSC-8. They're still based out of North Island in California, and down by San Diego there. So yeah, it was once I got out of the service. I'm from South Dakota originally, just for anybody that's and I'm 48 years old currently, so right after high school I went to boot camp out in San Diego with the Navy, San Diego, and then to Millington, Tennessee for avionics training, then back out to San Diego for helo training for the avionics, and then to be attached to my squadron. And then that was in late 93 when I got attached to my squadron, finally, after all my training was done. And then we were a seagoing squadron, so it was right away we were Hayes Gray and underway. So
wait, you were a what?
I was in a seagoing squadron, so we were Hayes Gray and underway.
Hayes Gray and underway. What does that mean?
It's just you're out on the ship. It's just an old saying I always heard that.
Oh my God, I never heard that before. That's awesome. I love that.
So yeah, we were right away getting on the carrier and going out and doing workups for deployment. Did a couple deployments with that squadron, and that was my only squadron that I served with, and was HS-8. I really liked it. I had a really good commander, Terry Doyle. He was in there for the bulk of my time, and what a great example of leadership. I mean, that guy he's a fantastic commander, really a stand-up guy. He would go down, just to give you an idea, Johnny, he was a commander. He's an 05, and commanding officer of HS-8 of our squadron. And he would, I can't even tell you, it was multiple times. I bet a couple dozen times on a deployment where I would go, as I'm going through the chow line, he'd be down there dressed up serving chow. The only officer that I saw do that, unless there was some kind of an event or they were trying to, it was kind of a thing where they were trying to, have other officers do this kind of thing. Terry Doyle would do that stuff just for the hell of it. And if you're doing a drill and it was firefighting and you're simulating you're fighting a fire on the shipboard or something, there's a pretty damn good chance you're going to see him on a hose team right in amongst a bunch of E1s and E2s. I mean, that's how that guy was. He led by example. And I carried that with me pretty much. I still carry that example with me my whole career, but it was a good experience in the service. I got out in 96 and came back to South Dakota, went to college, got my engineering degree from South Dakota State in Brookings, South Dakota. And during that time, I had met a girl who had become my wife. She's still my wife, Michelle, and she tolerates me. And so we began our life together. I began working as an engineer. My degree is in electronics engineering technology. It's a bachelor's degree. It's a good cross between like the design guys and the production floor. So I'm kind of that liaison between it. And that's how I operate now in my current role at the company I work at. So I do have a day job. This isn't my full-time occupation, but I've had multiple jobs over the years, finding different things, trying to find, struggling with it. Like you mentioned, when you get out of the services, it was trying to find that. For me, I know I was always trying to find that camaraderie that you have in the service. It's just, as you know, I'm still in contact with my flight deck buddy. In fact, that's a funny story. The guy I was always on the flight deck with, I mean, we watched each other's necks all the time. I mean, he was an AE and I was an AT. So we worked the same shift. He was up there troubleshooting, doing launch and recoveries for the AE side of things, aviation electrician's mate. And me as a aviation electronics technician, we just happened to be in the same avionics group and we'd always go up together. So we were always going to every launch and recovery together and always watching out for each other. He was from Pierce, Nebraska, which was just like not even an hour away from my hometown. Just this pure luck. Yeah, it was crazy. My sister had actually sent some newspapers from my hometown. How he found out, he was walking by my rack one day and he just looked and he goes, Yankton, I'm from Yankton, South Dakota. He's like, what the hell? He's, what are you doing with that? And I was like, it's my hometown. And that's how we struck up a great friendship. And that's, I was best man at his wedding in 99. And it was at that wedding that I met my wife.
No shit.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. It was, and it was a funny story. I was blitzed too, because I didn't think it was a small town Nebraska wedding. I didn't think I was going to meet, I was single at the time and I didn't think I was going to meet anybody. So I was just like, man, let's party. I tied one on I let loose. And she actually used that opportunity in my inebriated state to ask me questions. If I had, any questions of concern. Do I have kids? Have I been,
He was working you.
She did. Yeah. I felt kind of played, but she figured I was too drunk to lie. So, and that started our relationship and that became a marriage. And now 21 years later, here we still are. She's still by my side. She's still my greatest supporter. We have 3 great kids. They're all teenagers now. So yeah, it was, and then I was best man at his wedding, and then he had him fill in as best man at mine. And, so it was pretty cool. It's, so yeah, I really can't complain for how things turned out between myself and the Navy. Feeling that, that what's my purpose? What's that burden that I should pick up and carry? Where's the camaraderie? I've come close to it at a couple of times in a couple of groups of guys that I've worked with, but nothing like it was in the service, and Mike is his name, my buddy from the service, and it was always Mike and I going up to the deck, up to the roof, doing launches and recoveries. And, it's just, I don't know, we hit port. We were always together at port, watching out for each other. Cause you're hitting a port and it's always good to just have someone kind of just watch out for someone and have someone watching out for you. And so we always partied together and we're like brothers, so yeah, it was, but getting out of the service, he went back to his hometown. I went back to my hometown. We'd frequently visit each other, so it's been an ongoing good friendship. So it's been really cool. But finding that purpose and got my career once I got done with college, got my career underway, and then started feeling, and I'd pounded nails before. I've cut boards and I've built things, and but I wanted to keep doing that. I felt that a purpose of mine. I felt strongly that I wanted to have something to show for my effort, and something that was meaningful, and to myself and to anybody that viewed it. But I'll say this too, Johnny. I'm as part of this journey. I'm probably my own harshest critic. I can be very tough on myself, much more so than other people. So it was a very big hurdle for me to create something and feel confident enough and comfortable enough with it that I could advertise it and say, hey, I'm putting this out here for sale. Because when you do that, you're putting your work out there. You kind of, I don't know, in a way, I think it's you kind of let yourself be vulnerable, and people will judge and people can be harsh. And I was just very reserved about that until I built up my confidence in my abilities. And that's, so that's why at first, a lot of the pieces that I did were for us. Out of the 21 years my wife and I have been married, there was about 9 years in there where she didn't work outside the home. I was able to get enough with where I worked, but we didn't have a lot of furniture then. We didn't have like a headboard and nightstands and, all the normal thing, how it goes, you got kids and kids are expensive, and it's we put our money where we felt the priority was, and keeping her, and it's for really no other reason than just, I think we personally felt that it was good for the kids to have her at home with the, and so we did that, and we paid the price, because once you take somebody out of the workforce for a while, getting back into the workforce now that she can work has been a journey. And she's found a great position at the local school district, and she's been working with them. So it's, working our way back into it, and she's doing great. But for 9 years, we kind of made the focus just, the kids and family, and, no boat, no camper, that kind of stuff, but, and no headboards. And
we did the same thing. We did the same thing, when the third kid was born, we were like looking at the expenditure, and she would have had to go to work just to pay for the daycare.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, I have a job, I have a career, I have the insurance. There's no reason for you to go. If you want to stay home and be, stay at home mom, I'm down with it, but you're not going to, sit on the couch and eat bonbons. It's not going to happen. And she didn't. She did a very good job. The laundry was always done. The house was always clean. The kids were always good. But it was very stressful because I picked up more time as a reservist. I did 9.5 years active duty, and then got out, got married, and then 6 months later went back in as a reservist. And she had the whole conversation with me with you're not fitting in with civilians, are you? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not. I don't like this shit. Like, this is, everybody's out to get you, it seems. They're out for themselves, and there's no common mission, common goal. Oddly enough, 9/11 happened. We got married in June of 2000, and Julia was born in July of 01. September 11th of 01. November, I was back in.
Wow.
And then the day I got activated in 03 is the same day we found out we were pregnant with Jeffrey.
Oh, wow.
So I did three deployments in 2 years. I spent 2 years at Youngstown. Would come home onesie twosies. Went through that at and then I got, I'm having a rough time this morning. I might want to rethink these early morning recordings. My brain's not functioning well. But I've been there, and we went about 9 years with her staying at home, and I'm flying like 2 or 3 nights a week, every other weekend, taking trips as an engineer. And I just came home one day and I just said, baby, I'm tired. Like, I can't do this anymore. Can you go back to work? And she's like, yes. Like, bam, right away. She's like, yes, get me out of this house. And the first place she applied to, the hiring agent happened to be a lady that she worked with years ago. And hired her right away. So we've
Oh,
never
man.
had an issue with her. And you know, she's in mortgage business, and she can hop around if she wants. She's been at this place, I think, 3 or 4 years now, and it's a permanent work from home. I'm on a work from home detail right now, so we've had 2 years of 24/7 together. So I'm in the basement doing my job. She's upstairs in the office doing her job. And I got to tell you, man, it was a struggle right off the bat. I mean, because you're 24/7 with the same person, you know? And I mean, but she's incredible. She's incredible. You know, she's been there for the whole thing. The whole thing. She's been through my drunks, my recovery. She's been through my suicide attempt. I mean, she ain't left. And I can't think of anybody else that I want with me. You know what I mean? And even though even though I have her and three amazing kids, when I got to that point of I'm not able to fit in anymore, 8 years sober, and everything was an argument, and nobody wanted to be around me because I was just a dick. When I went up and grabbed that $100 bill and the 45, I was going to grab a bottle of Jack and just chug a bottle of Jack and blow my recovery, blow my sobriety, and take my life. And you know, something in me at that moment wasn't thinking of anybody else. I was just thinking of me. And you know, well, if nobody wants to be around me and I don't have any friends and this isn't going to work, well, then I'd just be better off gone. And something inside of me told me, wait, this isn't your normal thinking. You've never thought this way before. Why are you doing it now? And it kind of clicked to, hey, get a hold of your AA buddies, go to an AA meeting, call your motorcycle buddies, call your Marine buddies, and you know, figure out what the fuck's going on with yourself. And once I did that and realized it wasn't everybody else, it was me with the issue. And that issue was I had nothing in my mind, not for real, but in my mind, I had nothing to live for. And it struck me somehow that as a veteran, as a reservist, not living near an air base, there are a lot of other individuals just like myself who struggle with the same stuff. I'm not alone. And when I got involved with Save 22, and Jason Rutledge can attest to this, it was just about being around the other veterans, right? That's all it was. And I just needed that. And to have that lifeline, that network of other individuals to say, man, I'm fucked up in the head and I don't know what I'm doing. And how do you do this Monday through Friday shit? I don't understand this 9 to 5 stuff. I don't like it, you know?
Yeah.
To have them agree and understand and then put me in a position to be with other veterans at Save 22 or get into events. I had a buddy, Dave Coxon, who hopefully will be listening. I will tell this until the day he passes or I passes. That man drove an hour and a half and took every weapon out of my house. And then when he left, I get teary-eyed every time I say it. When he got ready to walk out, he just stuck his arms out and hugged me and said, whatever it is, my brother, we'll get through it together. You know, and that's what I needed. You know, that's what I missed. And for him to do that showed me that there is other purpose, right? There's other purposes out there. It's not just you and your family. Now, granted, there's people who are completely content with only being dad and husband, and that's all they need to take care of. That's not me. I need more. 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 I need more with everything, no matter what I do. I need more with everything, and it doesn't matter. And to be able to share my story was great. But when the other people came in, the other veterans came in and were saying, you know what, I felt that way too. I felt that way too. And this is what I'm doing now. And this is the nonprofit I work for. And these are the things that I'm helping out with. So I just want to share those stories. You know, I just want to be around those kind of people who are positive and, you know, can be open about the negativity that they've had in their life, or the trauma, or how they've recovered, and share the positivity with others and let them know that, look, man, every day is not going to be dark. I promise. I promise every day is not going to be dark, but you have to start looking for that positivity. You know, you have to start looking for
Yep.
that. And I'm babbling right now, and this is about you, not me. This is the show. But if you're not watching this on YouTube, Kevin's backdrop is his wood shop, which my guess is his Taj Mahal, right? Like the Jay Leno Garage Mahal. This guy has got everything you need in there, and it's beautiful and it's well set up and organized. And if you can see the video behind me, I am the most disorganized person. But what Kevin does, I found Kevin on TikTok, and give me your at on TikTok so I can tag that in the show notes.
Yep. Kevin Heilman Woodworking.
Yep, Kevin Heilman Woodworking on TikTok. Do you have any other social media posts? Any
Yep,
other
I'm on.
accounts?
Yep, I'm on Instagram. It's all the same name. I couldn't think of a snazzy name. So I thought, well, it's who I am and it's what I do. Kevin Heilman Woodworking. I know it's lengthy, but it's that's the same name that's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I try to use that same name everywhere I can.
Yeah.
Even though it's lengthy, I just couldn't think of a slick name or a catchy name.
But it's perfect. I mean, what else do you want to make it? You know, American Metals has already been taken, you know, all that other good stuff. You're doing fine, man. Market yourself. That's what I've always struggled with, is how to market myself. I don't know how to build myself up or put myself out there. Just, I am who I am. You get Johnny Flyboy, Johnny Moe, straight talk. I mean, that's what you get. I don't have any flashy nothing. You know, that's who I am. If it's there, it's there. Kevin, in the background, you've got a couple laid out there.
Yep.
Can you tell me how did this process work with you? How did you get to doing these ribbon racks for guys?
Well, basically, so I'll try to dovetail this into the whole story. So basically, once we moved, we were in Northwest Iowa, and I'd finished the basement at the house, and just kept like, God, you know, you smell that sawdust, you build something, you have something at the end of it. And that just kept sticking with me. I bought woodworking magazines. Once we moved to Minnesota, and I started with a large retailer here in town, working as an engineer at their headquarters. We had a house with a basement that was unfinished, so then I could set up shop and started building furniture then. So that was the first time at that point we had been married 11 years, and first time we'd ever had a headboard. So I started building furniture, nightstands, desks. So at night when I go to sleep, I'm surrounded by things that I've built. And I love that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my kids, they all have the headboards that I built, the nightstands. They've helped with the projects for their rooms. They're not running the dangerous saws or anything like that, but they're helping to put stuff together, and they're holding things for me and stuff. So they're a part of the process. So I built furniture, but there's only so much furniture you need. So then the next thing was like, well, I have all this equipment now, and I'm going to keep adding equipment, but I'd like to keep building stuff. What can I build? So I thought, well, you know what we don't have is a wooden flag. I'd like to make a wooden flag. So probably, 5-6 years ago now, I tried my hand at making the first American flag. And I was like, all right, hey, that came out pretty good. I like it. I like the way it looks. I put it above the fireplace and came up with a design to use a French cleat on the back side of it to be able to adjust it horizontally. And it kind of centered it over the fireplace because, of course, any house I've ever lived in, the studs in the walls are never where you want them.
Never. Yeah. Right.
And these flags, it weighed probably the big ones weigh about 17 pounds. So it's like, yeah, I'd like to have that thing just stay on the wall right where I put it. So I don't want it falling. So I got to have this thing anchored in the stud. So that French cleat helps you move it a little bit. And it's like, perfect. So I made that, and I'm like, all right, maybe there's something to this. So that's when I started, honestly, Johnny, that's when I started kind of like, well, I wonder if I can make something that's good enough to sell. And that was really the question. And that kind of ties in earlier with how tough I can be on myself and my own worst critic. It's one thing to build my own furniture and things that we use, not that I'm going to do a bad job at it, but it's just, I put every bit of effort into those items as well. But it's just, they're perfect for me. They're perfect for my family, and they work well. We're still using all of that stuff. And but it's that next level of like, okay, is this worth someone else's hard-earned money that they're going to hand me the cash and I'll hand them the item and we have a good trade. We're good. We're both happy. We both benefited. Is it worth that? And that's the struggle. That was the hurdle I had to clear in my mind. And I made some flags and I started advertising them. And a lady bought one at one point for her husband, who was a veteran, and he was kind of struggling, and she wanted to get him a flag. And she wrote a very nice email back after that. She said he was brought to tears. It helped them. And that's what the first thing that kind of tripped in my mind, Johnny, was like, okay, well, hold on here a second. I'm looking at this going, did I build something? Was my craftsmanship good enough to be worth whatever it was that I charged for the flags at that time years ago? That was my focus, is it good enough? I didn't even think at all of the impact that what I made, that how people would feel about that. It didn't even right. occur to me. And that'll be something I'll speak about a couple more times too before we're done, is that what it means to people and that impact. And I was totally unprepared for that, Johnny. I was very unprepared for that. I was more focused on the craftsmanship, the quality of it. Is it worth it? Is it, am I justified asking for the amount that I'm asking? And that sort of thing, as a craftsman, making sure I'm providing value and quality, and at a reasonable price. That I'm making something. I don't feel like I'm gouging somebody, and right. I'm just trying to be fair about it.
Am I fair? Right.
Yeah. And so that's how it all kind of got going, was I started making flags and patriotic items. I started doing Minnesota state cutouts. I started because Minnesota has very unique state shape, like most of them do. Nobody's really asked for a state cutout of Colorado.
But, it's a square.
Yeah, that'd be easy to do. But so I started doing that stuff. But then as I kept going with it, and I was like, all right, I started doing some craft shows and started adding a few other items that were not patriotic. There were just some wine cork type stuff and some other odds and ends. And we did a few craft shows and started, we formed it up as a business, an official LLC business right. here, and got my tax license and all that stuff, and everything's set up to be a proper and official business. And then but then I started kind of realizing, like, I want to do something unique with the flags. I started like, okay, I do a subdued flag, the black and tan version. I see a lot of people doing the blue line and the red line on there. Like, okay, all right. There's a lot of different colors. Like gray is for corrections, and I know there's oranges and yellows for like first responders and whatnot. So there's a whole list of different colors. And I was like, I started, because I'm sitting there, I'm kind of cross-checking and looking out there on Pinterest, right? Seeing like, okay, what are other people doing, and what are they charging, and what does their quality look like? Am I competitive? And what occurred to me was like, oh my God, there's a lot of people out there making flags. There is a small army of people out there making flags, and they're making nice flags. They all have CNCs. I don't have a CNC. I'm just doing this. I'm doing stripe by stripe, star by star. And that was kind of the phrase that I used I put that on my cards and my website. Stripe by stripe, star by star, by hand, by a veteran, and a lot of people, they jived on that. And because that's how I did it. And I was like, okay, I'll just tell people how I'm doing it. And then I started looking at those blue lines and red lines and thinking, how come nobody's ever done a military ribbon on there? And the first one I did, Johnny, was the Vietnam service ribbon. And that's how the ribbons. That's kind of I know I don't mean to. I'm sorry, I get a little chatty sometimes.
I just got chills because you said the wood, the flag, the craftsmanship. If you see that one over my shoulder right now, that was done by my buddy Tommy with the Legion Art by Design. He went to school with my wife, and I guess he reached out, or Trish saw it, and I'm so proud of that flag, like, because somebody made it for me. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then that drawing next to it was done by a guy named Lee Hedberg while we were stationed together in Las Vegas, and that's the F4 Wild Weasels that we worked on. And
nice.
And those two things that I have are more valuable to me than any other thing, for the specific fact that they were for me, and they were done by a guy for me.
That's pretty cool.
And I think that's what so many of us veterans, when we don't have I love me walls. I mean, it took me I lived in this house 6 years before I put this stuff up in this house.
Wow.
Like I've never had, and I love me wall. And I know it sounds arrogant or egotistical or whatever you want to call it, but when we retire or we get out and we stop doing that kind of thing, we need to be reminded that we weren't always this guy that comes home at 5 o'clock, right?
Exactly.
We've done some things that less than 3% of the world have done. And
Yep.
it's not necessarily for everybody else to see, it's to remind ourselves that, look, man, at one point you were pretty fucking badass, you know.
Yep.
We don't think that we were that way because we were just doing a job. My daughter serves right now, she's over in Saudi, and she texts me or calls me like once a week, and she's just like, this is awesome, this is absolutely amazing, some of the stuff that we've done, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, right. And nobody can ever take that away from you. And
Yep.
when you look at these ribbon racks, you can, I love the way that you talk about the whole ribbon rack when you do your lives or you do a TikTok and you go through the ribbons and the individual's career.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not just a, hey, look what I've done. It's the story of that man or woman's service. It's
Yep.
a story, right? And they sound amazing to the civilians and they may not mean a lot to the veteran. But if you step back and listen to someone else tell the story of that ribbon rack about that veteran, that's where the heartstrings get choked, pulled on.
Yep.
Am I coming around? I mean, you said the
Yep.
first ribbon you did was the Vietnam service ribbon, which, they're not giving out anymore. They haven't given
Yep.
out for 46 years, 47 years. There's very few of those guys left or ladies left that can tell you about that ribbon.
Yes.
Right? From personal experience. And I'm just all about the stories, man. I am 100% about the stories. I'm having issues with my Zoom. For some reason, my account shuts me off at 40 minutes.
Uh-oh.
So we're gonna take a pause here because you've got a great transition where we can move into the woodworking on the ribbons and the racks and everything. So let's shut this down. We'll come back in a minute and start back over again for another story. You cool with that?
Yep, absolutely. So I'll hop out and use the same link.
No, I have to send you another link.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right.
I'll look forward to you now.
All right, man. I'll be there in a minute.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yep.
Feeling down, never felt this down before. It's got my mind racing, thinking thoughts I shouldn't be thinking. So many things went wrong, so many friends have gone. I've been hurting for so long, but I won't give up, I won't quit, I'm not built that way. It'd be so easy, I admit, I'm not built that way. So many I love that need me out. I wouldn't break their hearts or live in fear. Another day, and I'm still here. I prayed it won't find me, but it snuck up behind me. Can't do what I want to, just trying to get through, because I love you. But I won't give up, I won't quit, I'm not built that way. is my